Live in three, two, three, two. And we are live. Finally, we're live. Hello. How's it going, guys? We just
Hey,
did like
folks.
2 minutes of a show and nobody saw it.
Now we got feedback.
Now we got feedback. There we go. But now
Wow, this is like we should sing. Row, row,
row
row
your
your
boat
boat.
gently down the stream.
Merrily, 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 merrily.
Hey, and on top of that, guys, you can come in on YouTube and see us right now, and I will chat with you. I think I'll try to do as much as I can to keep the chat box open. Maybe Doug can bring YouTube up and get the thing, and maybe get his chat box open, and he can chat with you because I'm doing more things like reading and crap like that, like real important stuff. But
Yeah. I'm just thinking.
What were you thinking?
No, I'd say all I do is think. You talk, I think.
So today, actually, what I want to do is I'm going to open up the show with this statement that I wrote yesterday or on September 11th. And I think it's pretty heartfelt. I mean, it's not derogatory at all, and it's aimed at the citizens that live through that and can remember that so hard. And it's just a prayer for peace, and that's I'm just going to say my words, and then we're going to go on with the show. So we're going to start the show here right now as I go over to the magic button, and here we go. Hey guys, I want to start this podcast with a little prayer that I wrote on September 11th. And with all the rhetoric and back and forth and all the cultural racial issues that we're having right now, I thought it was appropriate to go ahead and write this little prayer. I am a spiritual man. I'm an agnostic, though. I am searching, and I'm a doubting Thomas, but I do have a spiritual side of me. And when I say pray, it's just something that I want to make a statement on. So I said, today I give you a prayer aimed at the people and the culture that has been blamed for the tragedy that was named 9/11. I pray that you overcome the stigma of the uneducated that has, I pray that you overcome the stigma that the uneducated has slapped upon you, for the ignorance of a few routinely impact the many. I pray that no harm comes to you on this day, or on any anniversary of this day, by those who would lump you into a movement that only a few carried out, but the masses make you pay for it on a daily basis. I pray that your legacy and peaceful unity lives on besides mine, and that the actions of a few quit defining the majority of a people and a culture. And finally, I pray for healing, hope, and tranquility for the other cultures and my own who have suffered from the ignorance of many who blame selfishly the actions of a few. However, I will never forget those few who perpetrated the terror and broke the peace of the many who just want to live free in unity with each other. Mainly, I pray for peace. I wrote that on September 11th after seeing dozens and dozens of solemn anger, I want to call it. And when I talk about solemn anger, this thing happened 18 years ago, and to me, it just happened yesterday. I remember it totally, absolutely. I came home from my fishing trip late one night. And I remember just coming in. I didn't unpack. I just came in, talked to Tracy for a while, went to bed. And the next morning when I woke up, that's what I woke up to. And it was pretty startling to me. and it's just like it was yesterday. And I think that the statement or prayer that I wrote kind of spans off across all the tragedies that we have. I don't know anything about what happened on Pearl Harbor except for what I see in the history books and what I read and what I saw, on the movies and stuff like that. But I would imagine that the Japanese felt the same way. And even the German people that were here that were being ostracized during the time of the Second World War, and I think it happens in
First World War too.
In the First World War too. So I think it spans across generations that this prayer is acceptable for, because the small few, and I've always talked about this, is that the small few amount of people are the ones that change the laws for us that actually follow the law and are right-minded. I want to say right-minded people. We have decency, we have this and that, but I mean, it's just a very small few that when they act idiots, our freedoms get taken away. And I can't remember who said it, but there was a paraphrase quote that I heard this morning. It was that we never won freedom in any war, because the government uses those wars to quell your freedom, to squash your freedom. And that's what happened on September 11th.
In the name of national security.
In the name of national security. Mm-hmm. And, to hell with fucking President Bush. I mean, the last time we lost a lot. I mean, we lost more than 3,000 people on that day. And I pray for those people every day that, it's just like, those, we're still losing them to the volunteers that volunteered to go clean up the mess and help out with the first responders and stuff like that. So we're still feeling the effects of that day.
People who lived in the area too.
Yeah.
The first responders got hit up with all of that dirt and dust and stuff, but there are people that live, in that area.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, a lot of people work, it's the financial district. There's not a lot of housing there, but people do live there. Yeah.
And then in the name of security, in the name of no matter how loud we screamed, because I screamed about this at that time. I mean, this was pretty much the point that I started becoming a libertarian, when I heard that this Patriot Act, making it all patriotic. Who doesn't like patriotism, right? And it was just one of those situations where we lost a lot. Us as citizens lost a lot. The government gained a huge chunk of our privacy. I mean, I don't give a shit what Google or Facebook wants to do with my privacy. I don't really care. I mean, because number one, they censor me or they let me go, or most of the time they just throw ads at me that I want to see. They don't throw me a bunch of freaking ads that I don't want to see. So, Google uses, I'm going to say debatable, that Google and Facebook use your information for marketing purposes for the most part. Whether they're colluding with the government or anything, I would doubt very seriously, but I wouldn't doubt very seriously that if we had some kind of next war or something like that they would demand, that social media would give away all that information to them.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Why do we need to show our IDs to get on an airplane?
I don't know. Why do we need to show our IDs to get on an airplane?
I don't either. I think it's for the airlines, because people used to buy a ticket and say, I can't go on this trip, and give it to their buddy, and their buddy would take that ticket and go on the trip. And the airlines don't like that. They want to have that ticket refunded, charge you a refund, and then make you pay full price for it again.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Because we are supposed to have free interstate travel in this country.
Absolutely.
We're not supposed to show IDs. We're not supposed to show our papers to go from state to state in this country.
And it's just getting worse.
They can still have airport security. They can still x-ray me. They can have their dogs sniff my butt. They can go through my underwear. I don't care, but I shouldn't have to show my ID.
I've got a question for you. Here's number one. So why doesn't the Department of Defense take care of our Homeland Security? Why do we have to have a whole brand new branch of our government?
Because Republicans like small government. Sorry. Yeah, that was it. That's why.
And it just goes to show you. I mean, they were arguing today that Trump is the biggest, the biggest liberal that the Republicans ever elected into office, and that Obama was the biggest Republican that they ever.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And I'll guarantee you that that's what it was. I totally agree with him.
Yeah.
Because our government is so fucking corrupt, dude. It just really is. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you believe in as far as you think the government can do it better than the private sector. Screw that. I'm all about keeping government as fucking small as possible, but that is impossible. We have let this genie out of a bottle, and it's going to take, I don't know what it's going to take to get it back. I don't think we're going to get it back.
I was listening to a news article today about an industry that was supposed to self-regulate and couldn't do it. Matter of fact, they're asking the government to come in and take control of the situation, and that's the vaping thing. Okay, the manufacturer of the vapors are like, this should only be sold to vetted adults. I don't know why kids are getting it. Whoever's selling it to kids, a bad person, and I think the government should get involved with this. Bada boom.
I think that there's ramifications for every decision, and your ramifications for the decisions that you make are your ramifications, and that's just the way it is.
Well, I'm just saying that's what they're. That's So where do you go with that? Where do you go with that? You can't regulate yourself. Who's going to fucking regulate you?
Well, I don't.
Excuse me.
I don't believe in a lot of government regulations, and you know that, Doug. We're going to go round and round and round.
And you know me, I believe in certain government regulations.
Yes, I know you do.
That's the ultra conservative part of it.
I know you do. Hi guys, how you doing, man? Welcome to the second season of the Weathered Soul podcast with Dougie here. It was not too far after when I got back from my fishing vacation that we started this program, and Doug, I think, was in one of the first 4 shows, but he's been our staple now. And say hi, Doug.
Hi, Doug. How you doing, folks?
Hello, Doug.
All you loyal listeners.
all of our 8 listeners that we have, but no, we do actually have over 200 listeners. Excuse me. That's the Coors. And anyway, it's good to be here, man. It's good to be here. And like I said before we were talking on the show, got into some scuttlebutt at my fishing trip. I just went up to Lundy Lake with 29 other guys, and we do that every year. This was our 51st year of doing this Lake Lundy trip, and it was a real special time this year because we got to say goodbye to one of the fathers of the trip, and actually the father and grandfather of some of the people that were on the trip. And we really missed Dick DeBrava so much. I mean, we named him Father Lundy. His family made a bench for him, and they put it up in the mountains overlooking the lake, and we put his ashes in the lake, and it was a very emotional weekend. One of the other guys, Gary Burkemeister, he came in from Wisconsin just for one day. He's not healthy enough to come to the fishing trip anymore. So these 2 guys have left the group, but they're always here in our hearts with us. So me and Dick's son, Mike, we run the show now, and we're going to keep it going for you, Dick. I mean, that's just the way it is. We got a core of guys that want to come up every year, and whether we ebb and flow from 29 to 10 or whatever the case may be, year to year, we're going to keep going up to Lake Lundy as much as we can. We're going to keep doing our fishing trip every year, and it's just a blast to go. And I'm lucky to have a group of guys that I can call anytime, just talk the shit, and about half of them I give you the shirt off their back, and all of them will be there for you if you need them. So I mean, but we're all spread around the United States, and but it's the biggest group of people that I know that I see every year. Come rain or fall, or rain or sun or snow or whatever you want to call it, they're always going to be there, and we're always going to talk about the same stories that we talk about every year, and laugh about the same things about the fire, and the same things about the poker, and the same things about the fishing, and it's just one of those great things that we get to do every year. And I know that you just came back from your vacation.
Our annual trip up to up to Lake Shasta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, tell me about that, because I you told me a little bit about it. About it's a kind of a family reunion type thing, or what is it?
Well, one of our friends' parents own a campground, and they have some RV spots and they have some tent spots,
Right.
and other activities too. There's fly fishing there. It's catch and release. He gives fly fishing lessons. Also, he has a RC airport, so you can fly your RC planes around. And this year he built a RC car off-road track. So you get your little, radio controlled monster trucks doing flips and stuff in the dirt. It's fun.
Right.
If I'd known, I would have brought mine. Well, I would have resurrected mine anyway. And then we also shoot off rockets on Sunday. Estes types rockets. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's right. How did you were doing a rocket plane or something like that? Is that what you were doing? A rocket plane?
Yeah, it was fairly successful, except it landed in a tree.
So the first time you took it up, it did the roundy round and
no.
Okay.
It went up,
okay,
and it did its turn, started a nosedive, ejected its engine, and then the thrust of the engine popping out thrusted it forward, and it started into a really nice, pretty flat right-hand turn right into a pine tree about 40 feet up. So that's okay. It might have fallen out before we left. I looked for it. I didn't see it. But that's all right. I'll try again next year.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I've been trying for 5 years.
It was the first time that when I went to Lake Lundy, that I had a boat with an outboard motor on it. Part of the story that I had a 25 horsepower motor on this little boat, and ended up getting a smaller one. So, but the boat that Louis gave me was complete outfitted with everything that I need for trolling, including a downrigger. And these downriggers have these really heavy weights on them, and I've never ever caught anything trolling ever. Have I ever caught anything trolling? So I'm going like, this time I'm going to go out. I'm going to learn how to use this troller, learn how to use my fish finder, blah, blah, blah. So off I went as soon as I got there. Well, first day that I went, me and my nephew David, he's my first mate, go around, and we're just kind of trolling around without the downriggers. And I'm reading the fishing monitor and stuff. I'm finding out where the fish are. And David starts getting these fish. Well, I still didn't get any because I'm just trying to learn my boat. But I think, long story short, the next day I went out and I started using the downrigger. Well, I got in some shallow water, and as soon as I got into shallow water, I catch a fish.
Oh, there you go.
So I shut the engine down. I get this fish in. My first fish I ever got trolling. It was about, I don't know, half-pound trout. Probably was 12, 14 inches long. Get him in the boat and everything. And I start the boat back up, and I'm trying to get the downrigger up, and the downrigger's stuck. And I'm in this rocky area. I know this area because I've gone there every year for the last 20 years. 30 years I've been going there. I'm going like, oh, damn.
Yeah, you need it. Yeah, you know the lake by now.
Yeah, I know the lake. So I was so filled with adrenaline and going like, yeah, I got this fish finally, that I figured that my boat was going to be strong enough just to pull the weight and downrigger, and pull it out. Well, it didn't. Well, no, I almost actually not capsized the boat, but I almost dipped the boat into the water. But before it went there, the cable broke right at the weight.
Yeah, you got to have your first mate sitting in the bow when you do that.
Well, he wasn't there. I was alone that day. But hey, I got my first trolled trout, and
you got to get.
I got a downrigger that I got to fix, but it was fucking cool, dude.
Yeah, you got to get an extension rod for your control arm.
It was so freaking cool, man. It was absolutely cool.
Imagine if you had that 20 horsepower, you probably would have flipped it right over. Boy, that would have been embarrassing.
I probably would have been dead. Some pretty cold water up there. You can't stay in that water very long. But you're near the shore. Pretty near the shore, but
you would have made it.
It would be okay. Yeah, I probably would have made it. Probably would have walked on water. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what's going on for the for the last 2 weeks. That's why we haven't been on the Weather Soul podcast. We've missed 2 weeks, and I was supposed to have some canned podcasts and never did it. I just got busy with Lundy and missing Dougie because he was gone, and and then I had my week off. So but we're back. We're back. We told you we'd be back, whether you like it or not. We're back.
Yeah, exactly.
And whether we like it or not, we've got some construction going on. And I want to tell you about the Weather Soul podcast here first, is that the Weather Soul podcast is brought to you by First Note Production Studios, which we're sitting in now. And I'm proud to bring you this. Me and Dougie are very proud to bring you this podcast every week. But one of the things that's going to change here in this season is that we're going to be more local, and it's fun to talk about the national politics and stuff like that. But if you want to talk about that, you can listen to Dan Bongino, or you can listen to some of the other liberal podcasts, whatever podcast you want to listen to, or news that you want to listen to. Go ahead and listen to it. But if you want to have Gilroy's news and information brought to you, then this is the podcast that you want to be at, because I don't know very many podcasts are here in Gilroy, if there are at all. I know that the Chamber of Commerce, they put out a video every week or something like that, but it's just a really kind of a summary of things that are going on. It's only about 2 minutes long. But you got a whole hour with a couple of guys that just want you to get off their lawn, and we're going to talk about it all, about what's going on in Gilroy. And one thing that's going on in Gilroy that happened right after the Gilroy Garlic Festival was the repairs on Monterey Road and the repairs on 152 started going on. And let me tell you, it caught me by surprise. I guess this last weekend before I went on, or actually this weekend when I came back. No, the week before before I went on vacation. And I came down the street one day going towards Costco, and the street was closed. You couldn't get across First Street. They had it closed. You had to go either up towards your house, Santa Teresa, or you had to go down. Right. You had to go down towards Monterey to get around.
Okay. So
those are the things that I really, really never knew about, and that's just the way things are. So the week of September 16th, 2019, construction of the First Street water line is anticipated to be in the areas of First Street and Wren to Hannah Street. So that's exactly what's going on. The lane restrictions and detours will be in place. Expect delays where alternate routes are possible. Now, if you live in the area, and most of us do, because Gilroy's a pretty small town, so if you live anywhere north of First Street, you better watch out and kind of keep your eyes on what's going on in the street, because you're going to have to be turned around and detoured around and stuff like that. So that's what's going on with 152. And then we also have some work going on Monterey Road, the Monterey Road rehabilitation from 1st to 4th Street. And for the next 2 weeks, 916 to 927 Monterey Road improvement construction to work on curb ramps and curb gutters is anticipated in the areas of Monterey Road. Minimal lane closures may be in place during regular work hours, and pedestrian detours will be in place. Now, if anybody knows about Monterey Road in between 1st and 4th Street, that there's not a lot of lanes there. There's only 2 lanes there. So, just be careful. Be careful what you're doing. So they're doing lots of things here in Gilroy, and one of them is that was done here in the Gilroy Life that I got when I got back, is that finally, because when I moved here in 2009 is when I moved to Gilroy. And the first thing that I remember about Gilroy when I went downtown was that bank that burned down, and all they had was, I think, a quarter of the frame up with the staircase that was sitting there
for the longest time.
And I remember that being there because I remember before I moved to Gilroy, we used to come up and play Eagle Ridge when it first opened. So for about 10 years, I came up and played Eagle Ridge every year. And every time we would go down to Eagle Ridge, we would see this place. And I'm going, son of a bitch. What are they saving this place for?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know what bank it was, but I heard it was a bank. So
it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So finally, when I moved here, I think I actually wrote a letter to the city council. is what I'm going like, what's going on? either I did one of my op-eds in the paper or I did something at the city. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember griping about it, and it wasn't too long. I'm sure it wasn't me. I'm sure they've been talking about it forever, but about 2 years, I think 2011 or something like that. Finally, they had raised it and tore it down underground. But one of the things that is going on in downtown Gilroy is buildings are going under safety renovations now. And anybody, you all know, if you're in Gilroy or Morgan Hill, you know that all our buildings are old, especially in Gilroy. I mean, in Morgan Hill, they're building everything back up. So, I mean, they're just generally tearing down their downtown and doing it back up.
Mhm.
They're doing a very good job. Damn, man, I was through there today. It looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Los Gatos going on there.
Did you know that Morgan Hill is rated as the 17th most expensive place to live in America?
Are you kidding me?
I shit you not.
Are you shitting me?
It's in the paper.
Is that right?
It was in the fake news.
That's kind of that's surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, still, we look at it with the way our houses are. I mean, I bought what I bought the house for. It's for 2.5 times more now than it was. But looking at Morgan Hill, going like they must have like $700,000-$800,000 properties now.
Condos.
Yeah, condos. So, yeah.
on the railroad tracks.
But anyway, so the Gilroy Life, Marty Cheek of the Gilroy Life writes, "Hey, get ready for a downtown Gilroy renaissance. A number of the 18 unreinforced masonry buildings are well on the way of being completed in the process of being retrofitted safely through a partnership between the owners and the city, opening up opportunities for revitalization with new shops and restaurants." So we're going to go by the way of Morgan Hill. Gilroy Downtown Business Association gave the public special tours July 19th and 20th of several of the buildings, and their owners and project managers explained what is being done to fix the buildings and plans to encourage businesses to lease them after their doors open. The URM buildings may collapse during earthquakes, and retrofits help improve public safety. In 2013, the Gilroy City Council voted 4-3. That's surprising they didn't vote unanimously.
Yeah,
they usually vote unanimously on everything, to impose a $10,000 monthly fines on the URM buildings to encourage property owners to take action. The city has been working closely with the URM owners to address the building safety issue, and many URM structures dot the downtown cities and the Bay Area throughout California. And these older buildings were built at a time where earthquake codes were not as strict as they are now. And an example of the danger of these buildings can be seen in Napa in 2014, where a 6.0 earthquake happened at 3 a.m. on a Sunday and seriously damaged more than 170 structures and injured more than 200 people. It goes on and on and on, just to tell you about what they're doing, the hurrahs and the kumbayas. But it's interesting that they finally got to the owners. And I, as a libertarian, one thing that I really don't want anybody to tell me about my property, but when you have a property downtown or you have a property next door to somebody, if your property is going to be able to damage somebody else's property because of their neglect, I don't have a problem with the city stepping in and the ordinances stepping in to say, hey, you guys got to get your shit together, because a lot of those buildings, I understand, are owned by people that don't even live in Gilroy. So,
yeah. And the hell with the property, it could hurt a person. Period.
Well, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can be walking downtown during an earthquake, and one of these buildings come down while you're walking down the street. I mean, that's a problem. So,
or you're paying to live in one of them, even worse.
Right. Well, I mean, they totally retrofitted the Milius and everything when they redid I'm not sure if they did the hotel or I think those are apartments up there now.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and actually, it's a beautiful building now. I remember when I first came back into town, it was still that ugly yellow that it was before they kicked everybody out and did all the upstairs stuff. I don't think they did much of the Milius except for give it a facelift. And then across the street they have Hearts or Halls. It's going to be a Halls across the street. From the old city hall. They've got that one, that building has this thing has been being renovated for
20 years.
At least. Well, I don't know. It wasn't being renovated when I first came into town, but then they started working on it probably 5 or 6 years ago.
That's the second project.
Yeah, maybe the second project. But they tore the whole. I mean, they totally gutted the place, and then they built it from the inside to the inside out. Is kind of what I kind of what I was envisioning, because they were doing a whole bunch of stuff inside, and then all of a sudden the outside of the building came off, and then they started, doing that up, and they still don't have it open. But I understand that it's going to be a store or a place called Halls that used to be there, and I believe that Halls used to be either a clothing store or something like that. But anyway, they're gonna open it back up as a Halls, and I think it's going to be a restaurant or something. I'm not sure. I don't know. I just know that it's going to be called Halls.
Okay.
And it has some kind of historical significance to Gilroy. If somebody knows about it, hey, you guys get a hold of me anytime you want at brucetheweatheredsoul@gmail.com. That's brucetheweatheredsoul@gmail.com. Tell me something more about this Gilroy history. I'd love to. I think I'm going to go down to the history department and get somebody over here so we can talk to them and just find out a whole lot about Gilroy's history.
Right. So, yeah. Why not? I mean, have you ever been to the museum?
I've never been in the museum here.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's not extensive, but it's pretty cool. It shows all the way from first settlement and cattle and agriculture to houses.
Yeah, I love the history. I love history. I mean, I tried to find out the history of the specific area that I'm living in, and I guess it was a Casa de Loma or something like that, somebody's ranch, and
right, yeah.
This was all marshland in here, and from what I can tell, they grew onions because I've got onions all over my yard, and
they grew everything here, man.
But I happen to be one of the lowest places where we're sitting right now is one of the lowest elevation places in Gilroy. So when it rains, guess where all the water comes? Besides on Highway 25 and 101, me and my three neighbors around me are the lowest point in Gilroy. That's why we have sumps in our backyards. But I guess Old Yagas Creek used to come through here. Yeah,
that's what those canals are.
That's
down
what
there.
These canals are. They made those canals, which dried out this area, and we are in a actual bend in the river or creek, whatever you want to call it. And this was actually a big pond right where I'm at. So, and I get reminded of that every winter time because I got a wet crawl space all the time. So the water table is not very far under me. In fact, in some places, in some places it's inches.
Well, that's good. You don't have to worry about watering your trees and your.
No. The trees are very healthy around here. I mean, I never have to water. Sometimes I don't even have to water my lawn.
Anyway. Our house is built on 20 inches of packed hardpan that I don't think water can get through. It doesn't soak in, that's for sure.
So anyway, the next city council meeting for all you guys that like to go out to the city council meeting is Monday, September 16th, 2019 at 6 p.m. at the city council chambers located at 7351 Rosanna Street. In addition, the council will hold a closed session meeting on Tuesday, September 17th, 2019 to probably talk about not ever having marijuana laws here anymore. I don't know. Who knows? I hate the city council. Pissed me off right now. They vote unanimously. I was surprised to see that 4-3 vote because usually it's an unanimous.
Yeah. Everybody's
vote for everything. Yeah,
but I guess a couple of people are like, well, we can't penalize them for not being able to afford to retrofit their buildings, which is a reasonable thought. Yeah. But it's like it's your building. Right. Sorry.
Right. Exactly.
Sell it to somebody who's willing to retrofit it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Also, Christmas Hill Park is open. Christmas Hill Park, Miller Road, and the park trails are open for community access. Activity on the grass throughout the park will be limited for the time being to allow the newly planted seed to establish. For more information regarding the existing pending park reservations or recreational classes normally located at the park, please contact the city's recreational department at 408-846-0460. And also, the Gilroy's Youth Commission is accepting applications. Apply to the Gilroy Youth Commission. Youth commissioners provide insight to city leadership regarding youth and teen issues and work with the city leaders to implement policies, events, and programs that work positively to influence the community. And applications are due on 9/10/19, which is already passed. And so that's what's going on in the city right now. And there's some other stuff that is actually really going on in the city. That's going to be coming up pretty damn soon. And one of those is going to be some of the festivals that we got going on. And the first one that I really want to tell you about that I'm really hyped up about, there was a gentleman that I'm associated with a lot of musicians. If you don't know, we have a band called Weathered Souls or Weathered Soul. And we play in coffee shops and little parks and stuff around. And one of our friends, Pat and Patty Curtis, their son Sam, who I believe was a part ownership of the Shoes and Suds or whatever it is down in Morgan Hill. What's the runners and Suds or something like that. Anyway, so Sam got in a very bad accident last year. And right outside of Target in Morgan Hill, he was T-boned in his truck, and he had a massive head trauma.
Oh.
And he was in a coma for a long time, and it's been a long, long time. Sam's back home finally after a year. He's rehabilitating, and it's a slow process. And they are having a event for him called Suds for Sam at the Kelly Brewing Company down in Morgan Hill. It is hosted by the Poppy Jasper Band and the Kelly Brewing Company. That is on September 13th from 6 to 9 p.m. Go down there, and they are going to do some kind of a fundraiser for him. And it says, come join friends and family of Sam Curtis as we raise fund for Sam's needs as he comes home. There will be free live music by the Popper Jasper Band, a silent auction with some amazing items up for sale, and a raffle. And all proceeds will go directly to the Curtis family. As always, at Kelly's, great food and beer will be for sale, and 10% of all beer sales will be donated to the cause. And if you can't make it, you can go to the Suds for Sam site on Facebook, and there's a link that you can go donate there to him if you'd like to. And that's one of the things that's going on tomorrow. And then my computer is so slow today that I can't even get to the next little thing for you. But I know that we are going to talk about Cookin' Fenny. And nope, I'm sorry. We got Porch Fest on Saturday. And that is going to be on 365 5th Street, Gilroy. And Tom Drake is going to be at one of the porches on Porch Fest. Porch Fest is a festival that goes on, and it goes down 5th Street. And I believe, it says the 2019 6th Annual Porch Fest Gilroy is an event happening September 14, 2019. Come out for a free fun community-oriented musical event that'll be performing my collection of soulful interpretations and many new and old classics from 3 to 4 p.m. But the whole event starts at 1 p.m. and ends at 6 p.m. with many exciting acts. And for more details, go to www.porchfestgilroy.org for more details. A couple of my musician friends have participated in this, and it's just a fun event. Been down there, and you just kind of walk down the road and go to each other's porch, and they're doing music for you, and it's a cool little event. And so have fun doing that. And now that my computer is just totally locked up, and it just hates me today. And then now we're going to talk about Cookin' Fenny, because Cookin' Fenny on the same day, September 14th, is going to be at the Light Post Winery grand opening. So the Light Post Winery is at 900 at Light Post Way in Morgan Hill, California. Saturday between 1:30 and 4:30 p.m. Cookin' Fenny, who opens up our Night in the Garden for Alzheimer's every year, will be there. If you want to go have some, welcome this winery into the area, go find out what their wines taste like, you can listen to Cookin' Fenny. And that's what's going on this weekend in Gilroy. That's what we got going on.
So even if the wine sucks, it'll still be worth going. If
the wine sucks, yeah, at least you have Cookin' Fenny there to go ahead and give you some good music, really good music. Right. They play some great music.
So it's a no-lose.
It is a no-lose situation. So as promised, as I was going through the Gilroy Dispatch Facebook page, and you can get us on Facebook also. All you have to go down to Facebook, it goes to the Weathered Soul Podcast in your little search engine, say the Weathered Soul Podcast. You can get to the podcast page. You can join that podcast page, and I post there almost every day. Probably post some stuff that aggravates you, but I don't care. It's one of the things that I do to debate. If you want to be able to debate with me and me really listen to you, then you have to donate to the show. And you can donate to the show by going to patreon.com/Weathered Soul Podcast. and for the mere cost of $1 per month, you can get some extra content that nobody else gets. And guess what? If you give me $1 a month and you say a comment or something like that, I'll actually comment back to you because you're giving me money. And that makes me care.
Is that tax deductible?
That is not tax deductible, no at all. It's going to take care of buying new mics and cleaning stuff and all that good stuff that makes this run. Not a penny of it goes in me and Doug's pocket. As a matter of fact, I might have to with the new law that came out with gigging, I might have to fire Doug. It's gonna hurt not having to pay him nothing every week. I mean, because I don't pay him nothing. So, but he might have to become my employee because this is just a gig for him now.
Yeah, it is. Definitely, it's a gig. It's definitely a gig.
I hate this camp cough, man. Every time I come back from Lundy, I get that camp cough from all the wood that we, all the stuff that we inhale.
Why don't you guys learn how to make smokeless fires?
We try. We actually had a kid there this year. He goes like, "Oh, I can make yours." He did a real good job at it.
Yeah, I bring my leaf blower.
But as I promised, Gilroy Dispatch came out on their Facebook page, and they tell us what's going on during the week. And one of the elementary schools is closing. Antonio Del Buono School will close at the end of the 2019-2020 school year. It is by far our most newest school besides Christopher High School.
Brandy new.
And to me, I wonder. I'm gonna read you a little bit. The Board of Trustees of the Gilroy Unified School District voted September 5 to close the first elementary school in 17 years, and one of the newest, Antonio Del Buono in North Gilroy. The school board vote, with trustees Enrique Diaz objecting, followed a gloomy report of a continuing steady decline in enrollment. The TK5 school at 9300 Wren Avenue was built in 1999 and at one point had nearly 800 students. The enrollment at the current school now is at 452, and the school had the biggest decline in enrollment of any district, 8 elementary schools, the official said. Only 313 students actually live in the school's attendance area. So Antonio Del Buono will close at the end of the 2019-2020 school year. So for the Antonio, I'm going to stop right there. Anyway, a later report says that none of the teachers are going to be laid off, and the kids are all going to be split between a couple of different schools, and so none of the faculty or anything is going to be laid off. They're just going to assimilate into other schools. From what I understand, they have some classrooms available over at one of the other schools too. So the enrollment is down, and one of the things that I was reading about, because I was more upset about hearing about this because of the tax things that's going on, in our city, and what they want taxes for. And for the last, the 2008 Measure P ballot for the Gilroy Unified School District, when it comes up, I'm going to tell you about it. And this is what I have a problem with when they hit us with more property taxes, because I know we never know what's going to be going on with our population, what's going to be going on with our kids or things like that. But Measure E 2016. Where's the other one? Here we go. There we go. Measure P, November 2008, the Gilroy Unified School District Bond Measure P ballot question was on the November 4, 2008 ballot for voters in Gilroy Unified School District in Santa Clara, where it was approved. Measure P authorized Gilroy Unified School District to borrow $150 million, and a 55% supermajority was required for approval, and they got 67%, almost 68% of the vote. The opponents of the arguments Measure P were written by Mark Zappa and Silicon Taxpayers Association. The arguments against the voters were that the citizens of Gilroy are again being asked to give an even larger part of their income to the school faculty. The school unified school district, with its marginal academic success, seems to require more and more money. And this is just one of those things where we hear that more and more and more, is that I want to cite the unions on this, because it's hard for bad teachers to get fired now unless they are sexually abusing their students. Because if you're a bad teacher, just being a bad teacher doesn't mean that you get fired. And unfortunately, what happens is, I don't think this has anything to do with the school closing.
That's true with almost every civil servant in this state.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is that we've got these government schools, and they call them public schools. I call them government schools, because they're told to teach curriculum, a certain curriculum, and that curriculum is agreed to by the representatives that the people vote for. And I think that just a lot of people don't really take into consideration who they're voting for their school boards. I mean, I know I try to do some kind of research for a school board, but personally, I probably should do more than I do for my senator or my president or anything else, because the school board affects me more than the president or a senator or a representative ever has. I mean, they don't do anything for us. But that was one of the referendums that we voted for that passed in 2008. And the one in 2016, the Measure E in 2016, the Measure bonds to fund school renovation and construction, was on the ballot for Gilroy's Unified School District for the voters in Santa Clara County on June 7, 2016. And it was approved. And a yes vote was in favor of increasing the district's debt by $170 million. So that's $320 million in 8 years that they bonded out. And it was passed 61% of the vote. And another thing that irks me about this is that I'm not sure, and we've talked about this before, I think, Doug, is what are the percentage of voters that actually own homes and are property owners to the amount of taxpayers of voters that are renting and aren't paying that property tax. So these funds come out of our property taxes. They raise our property taxes, and it happens all the time.
Well, that's what property taxes are for. Sorry.
Yeah. But I mean, since everybody is so happy about voting my tax in, or voting that tax in all the time, I mean, I have a problem with going into debt for doing stuff. So I mean, either save up the money, save up your pennies by.
Didn't we have this talk?
I think we have this talk.
Debt
before.
Doesn't matter if you owe it to yourself.
Yeah, well, all debts get paid, right? By the by the debtor or the debt, right? They all get paid.
Yeah. So,
but this continuing thing with okay, so we're $320 million in debt. And I'm sure that we haven't put a dent in that debt in any of those bonds that we've gone to, and now we're closing a brand new school.
Well, we're closing the most expensive school, and one that's only being half utilized.
Yeah, I understand. So
there's nothing wrong with that. That makes common sense.
Don't you think a newer school has less maintenance?
Not according to what they're saying.
What are they saying?
I don't know why. They're saying that it's the most expensive one to maintain.
They didn't explain how it was more expensive to maintain it. That's
yeah, nor are they stating how many students per class.
Yeah. Well, from what I understand, the state
per classroom.
The state mandates a maximum per classroom. I know that they do that.
Right. So are we maxing that out? And is that what we're saying is good enough for our shitty kids? Because I don't agree.
What do you agree with?
I agree whatever it takes to give the kids a good education, because it's our future.
Well, I do too.
Yeah.
So where's that going to go?
I don't know.
I don't think it goes to public school.
Well, it should.
I think
it should.
It should. Oh,
yes.
It should definitely should.
There's plenty of places that have public schools that are as good or better than any private school around.
I would say by the quality.
Most of them are up north.
By the quality of what? What's the
quality
difference?
of education?
What's the difference? Is it money?
Yes, it's tax dollars, because more affluent areas have more dollars to spend on taxes to pay for
Allocated.
schools.
Allocated.
They can pay more. I told you where I grew up.
Mhm.
I mean, there's no fire department. There's no government,
Mhm.
right? I mean, there is a government, but I mean, it's very, very small.
Right.
Sorry. There's no city services whatsoever. Volunteer fire department, a paid police department, and the schools.
Yep.
And there's
so you're
whatever.
you're sacrificing some departments for
yeah,
other departments.
4,000 residences, or maybe 5,000 residences, and each one is paying $8,000 to $15,000 or $20,000 a year in taxes.
Yep.
For nothing except going to the school, and their kids are coming out and going to Yale and coming up and being, your shitty senators that are looking down at you saying,
okay, so we can go over how much is spent to schools, because I even got the salary requirements of what's going on in the Gilroy Unified School District right here.
$65,000 a year for a teacher is barely enough to survive.
Well,
and that's average.
Let me see here.
And you start at 40. Kindergarten teachers, average salary 65. All right, and they start at like 40.
Okay.
Okay, high school teacher 72,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's barely enough to live in this town. Now, your wife would have to work too.
Why don't I have the school board stuff?
The only thing that I
keep going.
All right, so special ed teacher starts at 46 and ends at 90, right? In that range, depending on their their talents. And then school administrators are a little over 100,000, so about 10,000, 15,000 more than a high school teacher. Right? This is but then you get down to like the employee and teacher benefits. You start looking at the teachers' benefits. They're getting another $25,000 a year in benefits.
Right.
And those benefits go on for the rest of their lives if they can make it for 12 years without going insane or, finding another job. So that makes a big difference, right?
Okay. I will agree with you. I will agree with you for sure. I am trying to find the Gilroy teachers' salaries. So,
I'm sorry. I love all of our civil servants, but I'll say it right out here and open on public. They should have to save for their retirement, just like I do.
Absolutely.
They shouldn't work for 10 years and then get paid for the rest of their lives.
I should not be paying for their pensions.
Right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be paying for 3 police departments and 3 fire departments concurrently, because there's the upcoming one, there's 2 retired ones, because they retire so damn early.
Yeah, because the whole thing is that they get to accumulate all this overtime, all this vacation, all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And they get paid out, and if you don't use it, they get paid out at the end of the year.
We could do a whole series on that.
I'm sure we
level
can.
of corruption, how they take care of each other.
I'm sure we can.
Last year,
finally got it.
Your retirement's based on your last year's salary. So what do? The last year, they all work like overtime, 70-hour weeks. It's to up their salary, and that's what they get paid the rest of their
so the superintendent.
Beautiful lives.
So the superintendent of the Gilroy Unified School District, it's $218,841 a year for her job. And let me see. The next one is the assistant, which is getting $187,000 per year.
So now that's the superintendent.
Right. Now we're going to go down to
that's the boss of all the schools.
Now we're going to go down to the principal makes $138,000.
Right.
And then let me see.
So that's a respectable salary.
We're going to go to 2,000. That's a respectable salary. I don't make that. I don't make half that. So that's where that goes. So let's get real. Is it because they went to university and got university,
because they need enough money to be able to live in the town they work in? Sorry, they shouldn't be commuting from Los Pinos or Los Banos to come work at our school district.
For $138,000, you should be able to live pretty well in Gilroy.
Well, maybe if you bought your house 18 years ago.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, but not today, unfortunately. And that's a whole nother problem.
Now you see how you are, Dougie.
Yeah. You know how I am.
I know how you are. So now we're going down to regular teacher salary. We have a $93,000. We have a psychologist, which gets $107,000.
Yeah, those are maximums.
Yeah.
Those people are already tenured out.
I'm going down. I'm going down. No, just hold on. And then we're going down to 10. So I can tell you the names, but I'm not going to tell you the name. But they're on transparent. They're actually on transparentcalifornia.com. You can find all the salaries for anybody that you want to see. That's in public.
You can get it from the Gilroy Unified School District.
Yeah.
It's all public information.
It's all public information. So just letting you guys know. So now we have a teacher that's all the way down to, let me say, $88,000. And that's a teacher. And we go down even some more. And I really want to get down to some of these lower priced teachers here that we're looking at.
Well, a kindergarten teacher. Right now, their average salary is $65,150, starting at $42 and topping out at $89. Elementary school teacher, average is $69,300, starting at $48, topping out at $91. Middle school teacher, average is $67,100, starting $43, topping out at $91. Yes. High school teacher, about $72,600, starting at $51,100, ending up at $93,300. So, all these start around 40,000, 41,200 or 43,000 up to 51,000 starting, and all end up, 89,600 up to 93,300.
Yeah. Okay. So that's about the range that we're talking about.
Yeah,
so,
but then don't forget, add another 24 grand. Add another 24 grand in expenses to you and me for their benefits. Because that's not included in that, but that still costs us.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is that I make half of that. Okay. I don't make half of 90. I mean, let's be real. I don't make 90 though. Okay. But the situation is that I live comfortably here in Gilroy. I came here in 2009. I'm doing all right. Okay. So here we go again. And we're going to have to take this on the other side.
It's been an hour and 4 minutes, man.
It's been an hour and 4 minutes, and this is where we're at. So we're going to be on the other side.
We're going to pick this
up. We're going to pick this up.
After the music.
After the music. And we're Doug and Bruce, the Weathered Soul Podcast. And we'll see you later.
Yeah, that's something I think sometimes I need to explain my political beliefs. Okay, when I say I'm hyper liberal, ultra conservative, that's ultra conservative with the modifier of hyper liberal on it.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. I understand.
So it's like I'm not hyper liberal and then ultra conservative.
No,
I am a conservative.
I understand.
But I'm very, very liberal about my conservativeness.
I understand. You're fired.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think there's something, right? It's like waste sucks, right?